And hello, Internet, out there, whoever's watching out there in the world. We're broadcasting live on the Facebook pages of KBOO Community Radio and Popular Resistance, as well as my own Facebook page is David Rovix, and also on Periscope and Twitch, twitch.tv/David Rovix, various places. And it's all archived in video and audio form as well afterwards. All these open mics. If you look for the podcast This Week with David Rovix, you can find the audio version and also the video version if you on all these various platforms, as well as on the youtube.com/drovix in the Discussions with David playlist, among many other places. But yeah, the video section of Popular Resistance and KBOO are some of the places. And it's a wonderful lineup of folks we got this week, including new participants as well as regulars from both sides of the Atlantic. And if anybody out there wants to sign up for next week's open mic, the info is scrolling along there on the screen, but it's, if you go to davidrovix.com/POMM, the info is there for signing up. Pandemic Open Mic Mondays. And I'll kick it off with a song. I got a new album out. There's a bunch of folks with new albums out there. Colleen has a new album out. My new album is called Notes from a Failed State. It's just a solo acoustic thing I recorded a couple weeks ago. And incidentally, more housekeeping, there are a number of people trying to get into the queue who signed up for the open mic, but the queue is full. But if you just wait until the first few guests go on, or the first couple of guests, and then try again, then you'll get in there. So please try again. That's how it happens. But then there will be space in the queue. There's just a limited queue. You can't have everybody on at the same time who signed up. But don't feel too rejected. Just try again. Easy to say, I know. But here's a song from my new album. Exactly what nobody knows, whatever the future will bring, whichever way it goes, depends on how we get there, the scope of our demands, everything's up in the air, whichever way we might land. Welcome to the precipice. Just something, you can't stand there for long. Hear the church bells ring another homecoming song. As the state just pulled the rug, left us to wonder why. As the mass graves are dug for the essential workers sentenced to die. Welcome to the precipice. On the edge of something, so many people say things have got to change now, they can't stay this way. Never lied, can't be the status quo. Dog eat dog is dead, long may it be so. Welcome to the precipice. Welcome to the precipice. Oh, nice to see everybody clapping out there in the virtual green room. All you people watching publicly don't get to see this stuff, but we're having a little. It's sort of like a Zoom conversation, but everybody's like halfway visible. Hard to explain, but somebody sign up and then you can see what it's like. But now, wait a sec. I have to plug these headphones into the computer so I can hear other people talk, and then I can invite in our first guest, Stephen McRandall. Wonderful to have you back. And for anybody who is here for the first time, Stephen is an amazing writer. And you got another chapter of a brilliant book?
Yeah, it's another one. It's an old one. It's from England. It takes place in the north of England, a small redundant mill town. They have these towns that they built around the mills, and then when the mills closed, they're redundant. And this story takes place in one of those little towns, sometime around the late 80s or something like that.
And before you get to that, have there been any exciting developments in Dublin in the past week to report?
Nothing really. I mean, that squad that I was talking about, they're still there, and they're putting on little art projects. And not this week, but the next week or something like that. That's the only news that I have. I'm kind of retired from life, to tell the truth. You know what I mean? It's like I think my life was made up of sex and drugs, and this is the after fucking life or something. You know what I mean? I don't do drugs anymore. I live alone.
Just read books about it.
That was a while back. But I want to get rid of these stories. Actually, I mean, and maybe then I can start writing about what's happening today. You know what I mean? Because these stories.
Yeah. There's too much to write about.
I could get rid of these.
Let's hear it. Thank you.
This one's called Irish Manus 1, The Boys Nil. As Manus and Jean drove away from the squat, a young man in clean casual clothes ran onto the road in front of the car and put his hand out. He had blonde hair and a moustache, and Manus realised he was drug squad. Jean was driving and pulled over to the side as directed. Being confident in the average citizen's obedience to the law, the cop then stood to the side of the car and radioed through that he had successfully detained the suspects. The car engine was actually still ticking over as they sat there, and it flashed through Manus's head all that he was about to go through. The cells, the court, prison, no. Put your foot down, he said. But he's radioing through, Jean wavered. Put your foot down. She put her foot down on the accelerator, and the car sped off. She turned left off the main road and slowed up beside a dirt track that led to the canal. Opening the car door before it had fully stopped, Manus ran from the vehicle up the dirt track as Jean drove away. Manus stashed some hash amongst the roots of a tree. He wasn't sure what to do then. He walked to an off-licence and bought up a few beers. Decided it was best just to walk back to the squat and see what happened. It didn't take them long to arrive. 5 of them, all in plain casual clothes, all in their 20s or early 30s. Manus shook his head and shrugged a laughing apology. Sorry about that, lads. Try again next week. The sergeant in charge, a squat little bodybuilder named Nuttall, laughed in spite of himself. The little shit in the blonde hair and tash, who they hadn't run over, was not so amused and suitably scowled in the corner. Irish Manus 1, the boys nil, Nuttall acknowledged. Manus sat down on an old armchair, and the beer spurting out as he opened his can seemed to answer with all the insolence that Manus did not verbalise. The arrival of an older, more sombre, superior policeman had a sobering effect on Nuttall. Seemed like the superior gave him a nod, and Nuttall tried to come to heavy. He picked up a rolling pin from the upside-down tea chest that served as a table. Nice piece, this, Nuttall said, and slapped the rolling pin against the palm of his hand. In truth, the rolling pin was not a nice piece for hitting someone with. It had 2 thin handles which would break off. The sombre, older, most senior policeman stood silently behind Manus. He started pulling the stuffing out from the armchair just at the back of Manus's head. Nuttall said, "How's Joe?" Joe was a friend of Manus who was in prison. Stuck for a means of communicating with Joe during his incarceration, Manus had written him little skits and stories. The main protagonist in the stories sold hash in a redundant mill town in the north of England, but the cops could never catch him. Manus figured the sombre old bastard who stood silently pulling the stuffing out from his armchair was there because of the stories. Manus said, "Joe's fine." Nuttall smiled. "There's your warrant," he said, and placed a search warrant on top of the tea chest. In one of the stories to Joe, Manus had mentioned that the police felt a warrant was unnecessary for the squad. "Your stories are shite," Nuttall stated. "There's lots of people agree with you, but I hear they were real popular on Joe's wing," Manus smirked. "Aye, popular with the illiterate," Nuttall scoffed. Manus shrugged. Nuttall struck the arm of the chair Manus was sitting in with the rolling pin. Manus drank his beer and wondered what was going to happen. Nuttall hitting the arm of the chair with the rolling pin a few times was all that happened. He didn't hit too hard, so the handle didn't break. The squat living room, come James's bedroom, was in its worst state. Dirty and dark. The back door was off its hinges and stood up against the doorway. The hole in the hearth wall that served as a fireplace, come cooker, was filled with rubbish. Everywhere on the floor lay strewn empty wine bottles and cider and beer cans. James lay on his bed in the centre of the room. He was dead drunk asleep. He had been drinking and not eating for days. Manus had kept him company a good part of the way. The radio, stuck on a classical station, played in the background. The previous days of alcohol were taking their toll on Manus. The light coming through the heavy bamboo blinds seemed strange as the police gathered round his chair. Manus stood up and spoke. "I don't hurt nobody, and I don't take drugs. Mary Jane's not a drug." Manus moved away from the chair. Nobody stopped him. He crossed the room to a chair next to James's bed. Nuttall followed him across the room. Manus turned and went back to the chair he had been sat on. The classical music seemed to get louder as it built up to its crescendo. "Turn that bloody music off," snapped Nuttall. All trace of a sense of humour had left him. One of his young associates turned the radio off. As the music stopped, so James woke up. James stared out from bleary, bloodshot, uncomprehending eyes. Nuttall stuck his hand in James's back pocket, and James understood. "Fuck off!" James's angry voice had an effeminate, slurry whine, which affected a plea rather than any threat or menace. Nuttall and his young cronies were amused by James. They grinned as they turned him over and went through his other pockets. They found 25 quid. "A lot of money for the likes of you," Nuttall said. "A fucking dole day," explained James. The police laughed at James. James's mouth pouted as he tried to get some wet on his lips and repeat, "Fuck off, you're not welcome here." The police laughed. James staggered out of bed, grabbed a beer and stumbled out the back doorway. No one stopped him. More police arrived. A minibus full of young uniforms. Nuttall tried to organise the young cops and show them how to search the squat, but searching such an unorganised mess was not easy. "You're wasting your time," said Manus. "There ain't nothing here." "I know there ain't, because you dumped the stuff," Nuttall snapped. Manus shrugged. "I'm down in the back anyway." A young uniform was delegated to stick with him. James and Manus sat in the back entry in the shade of a wall, drinking beer. Another police vehicle arrived, a dog van. Then a friend of Manus's, Dreadlock Ian, ambled along the back entry, eating a cheese and onion pie. Ian shambled up and squatted down beside Manus and James in the police bus and the dog van. Nuttall came out and wanted to know what Ian was doing there. Ian explained that Manus was a relative of his. Manus agreed. "My dreadlock brethren." Nuttall took Manus inside for a strip search. Manus complied with little defiance, but the disinterested acceptance of the unavoidable. The police found nothing. Nothing in the squat, nothing in Manus's clothes, and nothing up Manus's asshole. When they tried to leave, their dog van wouldn't start, and Nuttall and his boys had to push. It was a hot summer's day, and Manus, James, and Ian sat in the shade drinking beer, watching. They couldn't help but grin as the boys in blue worked up a sweat. After they left, James checked the squat and found they had left a large portable search beam behind. It was worth a few quid if the police weren't getting it back. James went to the pub where he sold the torch and drank the money. Manus and Ian went down to a green field by the canal, recovered the hash and had a toke. So it was another round for Manus, but he knew they'd be back, and he wished he had some other way of earning a crust. Coming down from the booze, Manus had a horrible nightmare. He was in a house with Jean, whom he didn't want to leave without, but she was upstairs and he was downstairs with some big blokes. The big blokes started jerking off while staring straight ahead at nothing. They did it mechanically. Their hands around their cocks, pulling their skin back, and then as they pulled it forward again, their hands would leave their cocks and raise towards the ceiling in a Gestapo-style salute. They kept doing it. Manus didn't like to admit it, but he was freaked out. He walked away from the big guys. They followed him, menacing and threatening. They didn't touch him. Manus looked at the beads of sweat trickling down their hairy bellies. They didn't speak. Manus thought he could perhaps only be hurt through his own fear, but his own fear was growing. Manus called for Jean. His voice wouldn't work right. He knew it was his fear that stopped his voice, but he was finding it impossible to control his fear. The sweaty, fascist, dickhead mechanical wankers were pleased to see Manus weaken. They could get him now he was weak. He tried again to call out for Jean. Again, his voice wouldn't work. They laughed at his need for Jean, laughed at his weakness, and he shouted loudly, "Jean!" and was awake. Jean lay beside him. He was sweating. It was a hot night, and Manus felt crap as he lay there and detoxified. That's the story for this week.
Ah, fantastic, Stephen. Those
Thanks a lot.
details, man.
Thanks a lot,
Gets
man.
me every time. Thank you so much, Stephen. See you again soon.
See you again. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you. And then moving right along, Will Fudeman. How am I saying that right? No.
Fudeman, that's good.
Fudeman. Where are you from? What part of the world are you in?
I'm here in Ithaca, New York.
Ithaca, New York. Lovely. So I think we got a couple of folks around in the Ithaca area today.
Yeah, Colleen lives nearby, and I think Colleen may have heard this song in its first iteration in our
Excellent.
songwriters group a few months back.
Wonderful. You got. I'll just
anyway,
butt out
this-
here because we got a terrible delay. So let's hear what you got.
Okay, good enough. All right, so this is a parody, and it almost wrote itself. A few months ago, I was swimming, and I started hearing these verses in my mind, and I zipped to the locker room after I got out of the pool and started writing them down. So it goes like this, and I thought it was a pretty good idea, but then again, it might be a bad idea. The thesis of this particular piece. Columbus sailed over the ocean. Great Britain sent Sir Francis Drake. From Portugal, France, and from Holland, each empire's a great big mistake. My country was born in resistance to empires extending too far. If lessons be found in what happened before, there's a way to avoid endless war. Let's break up, let's break up the US of A, okay? Break up, let's break up the US of A. US has our troops in Korea. We've got even more in Japan. In Germany, Britain, and Turkey, Iraq and Afghanistan. No country should have a big army. No country needs troops overseas. Our country's too big for our britches. Let's break it up, smaller soon, please. Break up, let's break up the US of A, okay? Break up, let's break up the US of A. The dumbest of people like big stuff, as if more piles of garbage are good. There's beauty in smaller dimensions. Think watersheds and neighborhoods. Bioregions place life on a scale. Self-governing really can work. It's high time we came to our senses. Don't pledge your allegiance to jerks. And break up, let's break up the US of A. Okay, break up, let's break up the US of A. There we are.
Brilliant, wonderful, and a very good idea. Having is hopefully it would be a good idea. It can't be much worse. Yeah, thank you so much, Will. And we'll just move on here to a more urban, better connection here, and people get a good lesson in connectivity issues in the United States. But now a New York City connection, Joel Landy. Hey, Joel, wonderful.
Hello, David. I hope you had a good week. So,
lovely week.
Construction next door might not filter in here. I'm concentrating on the last week of school. Now, usually, I would have said that already. But with what's going on in the homeschooling, there were no regions this year, New York State. So usually we teach to about 12th to the 15th, then it's 2 weeks of regions and goodbye. But that's not what happened this time. So students are expected to come to class, online class, sign in their attendance and not come to the online class. It's okay if they do that. But the report cards came out on Friday, like the 19th. So we have to keep them in the classroom to the 26th. But I got this. Now
Excellent.
that the Microsoft Office stuff is done, now we can teach what I really would like teaching, which is today we learned all about this thing called the digital divide. Tomorrow it's net neutrality. Then the dark web on Wednesday. And Thursday is going to be the question, so is there something called privacy anymore? Take sides and argue. Go. So we might do that. But this song has nothing to do with that. In the late 1980s, I was dating somebody who was the last official bloodline of the Cromwell family. Yes, that Cromwell family. Old New England money. Her parents were alcoholics. So was my father. And I could not stay in that relationship. I couldn't do it. Too scary. Cheated from the start, casted to this world, another broken heart, poor mistreated girl. Drinks are on your house, on mom and daddy too. For every son and daughter, the life you're going through. And the proof that's in the bottle, in everything you find, the tapestry, you cannot see the proof that's in your mind. It's so hard expressing feelings to those you want to touch, and figures of authority that scare you so damn much. It is just like with your parents, and there is no place to hide. You cannot bear how much you care. Tears you up inside. And the proof that's in the bottle, in everything you find, the tapestry, you cannot see the proof that's in your mind. And what about your life, dear, as you orbit round their pain? And all the joy you don't deserve is driving you insane. Does it scare you when you're drinking? Are you doomed to be like they? And thoughts that you are so alone, they haunt you night and day. And the proof that's in the bottle, in everything you find, the tapestry you cannot see, the proof that's in your mind. You're the baby of the family. Now who's looking after you? You're grown, but you're still holding on. What are you gonna do? It's impossible to save them. You gotta save yourself instead. And understand the illness and the life that you have led. And the proof that's in the bottle, in everything you find, the tapestry you cannot see, the proof that's in your mind. Drinks are on the house, on mom and daddy too, for every son and daughter, the life you're going through. And I know the pain you suffer. I've been through it.
Joel Landy, lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you again soon, I hope.
Yes, I'll be
Adios.
I was going to say,
come back, come back.
A free man. Yes, I'll be a free man next week. Yay!
Yeah, it's a new form of freedom. The new freedom. Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
You won't be teaching. Good.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Joel Landy, and then staying within the United States, we're going to move over to Paul Kaplan. But first, a little housekeeping announcement for anybody who has been, like right now, somebody's trying to sign in, and wait a sec, we're going to make a little room here, and there should be room for somebody to sign in to the queue. And if you get blocked, then please just try again. 5 or 10 minutes later, it'll empty out. That's how it works. And now moving on to Western Massachusetts, Paul Kaplan. Hey.
Hi, David.
Great to have you back.
Nice to
Hey,
be back.
what's been happening over there past week?
Well, unlike Joel, my school was out on Friday, so I have a different rhythm. But what I did, I spent somewhere between 20 or 30 hours making a virtual chorus for those who wanted to take part in chorus. And it was a
Cool.
huge undertaking, but it came out reasonably well. It's on my Facebook.
Oh, cool.
But it was interesting because you tell them put the headphones on so you can hear me, and that some of them got that, and some of them got the headphones part, but not anything beyond that. So they kind of draped them around their neck and sang in their own key and their own tempo.
Oh my,
So
yeah.
that took some work making sense of. But
Yeah.
it was fun, and I was pretty happy with the way it came out.
Yeah, great.
What I wanted to sing today is a song I sang a few weeks ago. I've been singing it for
Wonderful.
a few years and never felt quite right because it's from the point of view of an African American in the first person. And people I really respect told me that's probably not a good idea. And I think I have to agree. So yesterday I spent some time, and today, in third personing it. And so I'm going to try it and see if it works with people listening. So this is I'm a Survivor has turned into Survival. There was an African who lived in Sierra Leone. And when the locusts came, they ate the crops she'd grown. But they're not hard to catch, and when she brought them home, they did not taste too bad. Survival. There was a prisoner upon a stormy sea, under a bloody moon, chained in captivity. But he could feel the limbs of his strong family tree, bearing him through the night. Survival. There was a laborer beneath the burning sun. At night her master came so he could have his fun. Her children, all of them, were sold in Charleston. They carried all her dreams. Survival. There was a sharecropper on a poor patch of land who yearned to scream above the hoofbeats of the clan. But no one hears the cries of 3/5 of a man. He learned to bite his tongue. Survival. There was a citizen who had the right to vote, though she knew if she tried they just might slit her throat. But she had come so far from that dark slavery boat, and so she found a way. Survival. It's on the video for everyone to see, the things we've always done throughout 4 centuries. If this home of the brave will be the land of the free, we'll have to change our ways. Survival. That's it.
Yeah, lovely. I loved I loved it last time too, but it's yeah, lovely
feels
both
more
both
right.
ways, I think. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, but we'll get into the songwriting philosophy on another broadcast. If we start talking about that, we'll never get to the next guest. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for doing this.
Oh yeah. And staying within the Northeast, moving to another state, to New York. Colleen Katau, it's so great to have you here. I'm so glad you could make it.
Thank you. Thanks to Bev for telling me about this, and you for reminding me too, David.
Oh,
Thank you.
well, I tried to tell you about it by sending it to the
Appreciate it.
wrong email all this time.
Oh,
So,
that's
you know,
all right.
that's
It's all right. It's
yeah,
good to have these opportunities.
yeah. It's yeah. If we're going to be spending so much time indoors and all the restaurants are closed, etc., then we might as well be having international open mics.
How
Yeah.
many kids do you have now?
3. Yeah,
Oh,
3.
wow. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
incredible.
Thank you. And you're in outside of Ithaca, New York there?
Yeah, I live in a rural community, a land trust right now. I mean, I outside of Cortland, New York. So it's near Ithaca.
Cortland. Right.
Yeah, but it's a land co-op. So we're up on the hill, and I've been trying to optimize the connectivity. So we'll see if it's how good it is.
It's the audio's working anyway. That's really working. Yeah, that's
Okay, good,
yeah,
good.
that's good. Whatever you got there is prioritizing audio, which seems like the best thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. Wonderful.
right.
What you got for us?
Well, okay, so I did write I have a new CD that I'm
Oh
very
yeah, what's
excited about.
it's not related to Jeff Bezos. That's a different Bezos. That's Spanish.
Bezos
But
with
what
an
is
S,
Bezos?
with an
Right,
S.
oh,
It
with
means
the S.
it means kisses.
Ah,
Bezos
much
kisses.
better. Much better. Gosh, I should
Bezos
know that.
kisses. Yeah, and that's yeah, you should. It's okay. We're aside from having crappy tech, we're a really monolingual culture in a lot of
Oh
ways,
my goodness.
but not for long.
Uh,
But I did write a series of songs, for the pandemic, and I wrote this one kind of came out just thinking of the food service workers, and so I'm
Wonderful.
inspired by Jane Zell. I hope she can get on next time. So it's called. Oh, let me just check. Is the guitar okay? Can you hear it?
Oh yeah, yeah, sounds great.
Okay. So it's
Hopefully
called
Jane will be on this time too.
Yeah, I
We'll
hope
see.
so. It's called She Delivers. And there's a little video. I worked with a young woman who's learning to video edit, and we'll have a little video of it to honor the local food service workers around here. The bars are closed, restaurants too. What's next, who knows? One thing's still true, my baby, she delivers right to my doorstep. You know I'm gonna tip her good. She bring me home the bacon, vegetarian, whatever on the menu, she'll hear from me again. They got takeout, baby. I like to put my order in. Oh, we're gonna make it through together. We support each other any way we can. I like the spicy sauce, so extraordinaire. I say, baby, you're the boss. When it comes to culinaire, I don't need to fire up my own oven when you're right around the bend. I can just call and set a table, and I got dinner coming in. She's my gourmet baby. Oh, food's so good. I appreciate your business, and you know I'd be at your place if I could. But I gotta stay inside, it's a shame. We rely on each other, and you know, for you I do the same. So take your time, no need to come too fast. I'll be waiting at home for my relaxed repairs. Sustainable containers make me feel even better. And knowing you're there in any kind of weather, I gladly pay a living wage, more than a living wage. To the locals it's a pleasure, for what they do every day is the least I can give her. 'Cause my babe, she delivers.
Aha! I couldn't get back into the stream here. Like, I'm supposed to come in right now. That would be the time to come in. No, try again.
Right.
So, that was
No need to come
beautiful.
too
Beautiful.
fast.
Right, exactly. Right. We'll just be casual here.
I'm just waiting at home. Time is like,
I love. Yeah, I feel better already. Yeah,
oh, good.
wonderful.
Yeah,
No, thanks
that
so
song
much.
is kind of weird. It's like I played it. I sent it to some local communities because they really, are hurting, right? And
Yeah.
they're starting to open up now. And I just ran it by them, and they really liked it. So they gave me some photos of their establishments, and
Oh, great.
so yeah, so it's cool.
And where can people find your new album? Is it on Bandcamp or
No, I didn't put it on Bandcamp yet, but I will. I have it on Spotify and all the other streaming services. So like
Spotify? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Spotify, YouTube, and the good old hard
Great.
copy. Yep. So thank you so
Oh, well,
much.
hard copy. Whoa. You made
I
an
like
actual
the fi-
CD.
I
I
like
didn't
the
even ask you if
physical.
you
I
did
like
that.
the physical. I
All
don't care.
right.
I like the artwork, the physical. Yeah, I do.
No vinyl though?
because no, I mean,
No.
maybe when I still start selling like hotcakes,
Yeah.
But I did get a little
Right.
royalty check. That was nice.
Oh yeah. Excellent.
And radio, I'm doing.
Excellent.
I know you know how
Double
that is.
digits? Oh yeah. $11. Oh yeah.
Double dig.
Yeah. Yeah. 7 pages and you get $11 at
Oh
the end
my
of it. You're like,
God, this
oh,
is
this
very
like,
funny.
yeah. Oh, it's
But it's
great.
beautiful to see the explosion of art and culture, in the pandemic. I think it's really awesome. So,
There's
and I
been a lot of it,
really,
huh?
really am grateful for this opportunity too. So
Oh, come back next week, please, and tell other
I
people
will.
about it.
I got
Thank you.
in the oven.
Oh, excellent. Wonderful. Wonderful. Take care, Colleen. Bye
You too.
bye. And then hopping across the Atlantic to Birmingham, Graham and Pam. Wonderful to see you both. And now I got the screen figured out so you can both fit in it. Hey. Wonderful. How's it going? What's been happening in Birmingham the past little while?
Well, weather-wise, we've had loads of rain and suddenly got loads of sunshine. So at the moment, we're very happy with that.
Yeah.
There's all of the discussions about whether to stop the lockdown or not, and it's pretty certain that the government's going to do that. They've been making the announcements for weeks, and so everybody's just assuming it's a done deal. So any day now we'll be, in theory, out of
going into it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
going into it, not out of it.
Any statues come down in Birmingham?
No, we haven't actually taken any statues down in Birmingham. I did start to make a hit list.
Oh, good. You got a statue hit list. Excellent. Where can people find your hit list?
I shall have to keep it secret for the time being.
Wonderful. A secret hit list. That's the best kind.
Yeah, I mean, this is the city that developed the steam engine with James Watt, and those people, exported those engines around the world, making stacks of money at that time, running, all of the steam power around the world, and that was James Watt, and he did pretty well out of colonialisation and slavery.
And also, a lot of chains were made in Birmingham and nearby that were used as shackles. Yeah.
Wow.
And even those horrible steel collars with spikes.
Yeah.
They were made locally.
Mm. Yeah, you can't get much more intimate to the trade than making the chains. Yeah, that's. Yeah. What you got for us today?
Well,
there's a new songbook coming up, by the way, too, right? The Sing Political. There's a new. I just saw some post about that new songbook coming out.
Yeah, we've got Sing Political. We put out a Sing Political about once a year when we've got enough material from various people. We put one out in April, and then a couple of weeks later we had so much material we put out a supplement, and then we put out another supplement, and the third supplement is due within a week or so, I should think. We got the supplements of about 10 songs. We've got 7 or 8 songs ready to go at the moment from various people, and it just gives people usually we sell them at our Sing Political sessions and one or two other places, but now these are online, so people can just grab them and grab the new songs as soon as we can get them out.
And sorry, remind us of where people can find that online again.
Oh, it's on tradartsteam.co.uk.
Cool.
/Sing Political.
Wonderful.
But if you just go to our group is called Trad Arts Team.
Trad Arts Team.
Yeah, Trad Arts Team. And on the front page of the website, actually, there's a link.
Yeah.
Because we're busy with it at the moment, so we stuck it on the front page.
Yeah, excellent.
And in the next issue, is it all right if we put your song called Cheese and Bread?
Oh, any of my stuff, of course, I'd be honored. Yes.
Because I'm Welsh, a Welsh person, and it's about when the red flag flew in Merthyr. So that's why I want to put it in.
Yeah, great song, Dave.
Oh,
I really like it.
Yeah,
oh,
really
thank
like
you.
It. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What you got for us?
Well, this is a rewrite of an old well-known song, an American song as it happens. Pam had this idea during the week, but then, I don't know, somehow or other verses started to come to me, so I put it together, and then me and Pam worked on the final version. And you'll all know the song, I'm sure. So in the comfort and security of your own homes, why not just join in and sing in with the chorus? The chorus will be familiar with you, though it's been tweaked a little bit. Okay, here we go.
Are you going to?
Oh yeah, I'm going to get rid of that.
It doesn't want to have the earbuds in, so.
No, I can't bear the sound of my own voice. What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? I learned that school is now my home. I learned to study all alone. I watch TV and the internet for the education I can get. That's what I learned at home today. That's what I learned at home. What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? I learned the policemen are my friends. I learned they needn't make amends. I learned that kneeling on a black man's neck means that I won't lose my paycheck. That's what I learned at home today. That's what I learned at home. What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? I learnt delays cause many deaths. The virus comes with every breath. I learnt to protect myself with a mask. I learnt there's things I shouldn't ask. That's what I learned at home today. That's what I learned at home. What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? I learned that Britain's in the lead for wasted millions and for greed. Coronavirus for the poor, while the rich are gathering more and more. That's what I learned at home today. That's what I learned at home. What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? I learned the cabinet have no cares, because they are all millionaires. They all went to public schools, they learnt how to bend the rules. That's what I learned at home today, that's what I learned at home. What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? What did you learn at home today, dear little girl of mine? I learnt when banners are unfurled, that protest spreads across the world. I learned that this world can be free. I learned that change is up to me. That's what I learned at home today. That's what I learned at home.
My computer's had some kind of a delay issue here now. I don't know. So I have too many programs opened at the same time, I think. Yes. Wonderful. But there was a friend of mine here in Portland said that she her daughter's history lesson for the day a few days ago was watching a video of the statue of George Washington being toppled in the north part of town the night before.
Great lessons. I mean, there's a big push to get children back into schools now because certain people think that, oh dear, it's so desperate they're missing parts of the curriculum. But actually, they're learning some great stuff. They're learning great family skills. They're learning all sorts of stuff that that's probably more useful to them than history. One point I want to make: public schools in Britain, by the way, are very expensive, fee-paying schools. So
that's what we would call private schools here. You call public schools, just to be really confusing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Not in the least public.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
You're very
Graham
welcome.
Thank you.
and Pam.
Thank you.
See you again soon, I hope.
Yeah,
See you
okay.
again.
Yeah, ta-ra then.
Bye.
Bye. And then hopping back across the Atlantic to New York City once again, Bev Grant. Wonderful to have you back. I'm glad you could make it again.
Good to be back.
We missed you last week.
There
Maybe
was
the
a
week
lot
before
going
then
on
too.
last week. There was like
Yeah, there was, huh?
there was a PMN gathering.
Okay.
Weekend, and there was the Great Labor Arts Exchange just this past weekend. So it was busy.
Both of them online, and you participated in both of these
In
online
both of them.
gatherings. How
Yeah.
were they both? Both
They were really-
gatherings of great interest, I think,
They were
to
really
many
good.
listeners and viewers.
Yep, they were really
Right.
good, and you can probably find links to recordings of them on the two different websites, PMN,
Yeah.
People's Music Network.org, and Great Labor Arts Exchange.
Yeah,
Maybe on
excellent.
the Facebook. I'm not sure. They
Yeah,
each
I'm
have
sure it must be
Facebook
out there.
pages.
Right.
Anyway, that was good, and I'm gonna sing. I wrote a new song right before the PMN one that I'm going to sing here.
Oh, great.
So it's still, songs kind of develop as you sing them. It's my experience is they're never done until you've done them a few times in public. So here's another time in public. So hopefully it's getting better, and I welcome feedback because there's only more to learn. Okay, it's called Who Streets. It's warming up outside. The fans are turning like the rotors of the copters buzzing round the sky. At my window, the curtains are stirring. You can hear the people chanting as they pass by. Whose streets? Our streets. Black lives matter. We're gonna break the brutal pattern of blue on black. Say their names: George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. We demand justice. We're fighting back. It took 8 minutes, 46 seconds to stoke the fire that's been burning for years, fueled by centuries of laws that threaten black-skinned targets of white-skinned fears. Whose streets? Our streets. Black lives matter. We're gonna break the brutal pattern of blue on black. Say their names: Rayshard Brooks and Ahmaud Arbery. We demand justice. We're fighting back. Enough is enough. I hear the cry from the young and the old, the black and the brown and white. Is this the tipping point? Does it signify the time has come to finally set things right? Whose streets? Our streets. Black lives matter. We're gonna break the brutal pattern of blue on black. Say their names: Sandra Bland and Eric Garner. We demand justice. We're fighting back. Say their names: Michael Brown and Tamir Rice. Say their names: Philando Castile and Freddie Gray. Say their names: Trayvon Martin, Amadou Diallo. Say their names: Oscar Grant Abner, Louisa, say their names. Eleanor Bumper and Clifford Glover. We demand justice, we're fighting back. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm looking at a bunch of other comments from people who really, really like that chorus. Yeah, that was great. Fantastic. Wonderful. Yeah, Bev Grant, and of course, if I were really dumb, I would ask where can people find that song? But you obviously just wrote it, so no. Yeah, okay. Thank you. They can just replay what they just heard. Yeah, play the broadcast again. Yes. See you again soon, I hope.
All right.
Bev Grant in New York City. And then moving a couple thousand miles to the west to another very central place of activity, Per Andreasen. Great to have you back.
I'm so glad to be here. Yeah. There's
what's been going on in your little town there? Any statues come down lately?
No. But one might go up. So last week on the open mic, I sang a song about Charles Thurber, who was lynched here in Grand Forks in 1882.
That's quick moving. There's going to be a statue of Charles Thurber going up?
Yeah, not because of me.
Okay.
You
sure?
To me, there were well, I don't, but I'd like to think I helped. But apparently, there were people in the background, or in another group over on the other side of the river who I was not connected with, who've been working for a couple of years and just completed fundraising to get just a plaque, a historical marker, nothing elaborate, but yeah, if all goes well, I'm going to have to rewrite the last verse of that song. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, good.
Otherwise...
What you got for us today?
So this is a song that I wrote a while ago. It's on my my album, The Starry Plow, which is up on Bandcamp. And it's about... it's also about the late 19th century, but Paris this time. So.
Great.
Paris seen through child's eyes is a paradise of tree-lined streets where glorious statues rise. From the boulevards, mute sentinels of memory, the echoes of an empire, always the Republic see. These broadways broke neighborhoods apart, help the army take a shot on revolution's heart. 1871, well, they raised the red flag high above the Hotel de Ville, and all around the cry rang rights for women, public schools, and separate the corrupt Catholic Church from our new free state. When word of the Commune reached Versailles, the regulars took up arms, a march on Paris mobilized. Well, these cobbled streets and imperial facades will still recall the workers who died for the cause, until the day we raise again the flag of the communers, dyed red and proud as the blood on the boulevards. Well, Josephine Maché lost a son at Sedan. Her lover died in chains, so she stole his body back again. When the war came to her streets, she picked up a gun, shouted, "Cowards, to the barricades! Don't let them see you run!" Afterwards, against the wall, they heard her final words were, "God forgive me, I didn't kill more of you first." But these cobbled streets and imperial facades will still recall the workers who died for the cause, until the day we raise again the flag communards died red and proud as the blood on the boulevards. The last of the home guards surrounded in a cemetery, wall smashed in by cannon fire, men already weary, many of them wounded. They still stood to fight till out of rounds they laid down arms around midnight. Not many still on their feet, 150 souls were backed against the last strong wall. The army rifles roared. But these cobbled streets and imperial facades will still recall the workers who died for the cause. Until the day we raise again the flag of the communards, died red and proud as the blood on the boulevards. If you go to Paris now, find in the place Vendrome, a column topped with a bronze statue stands alone, a monument to pride in arms, imperial tableau. It was broken by the communards, Napoleon laid low. What stands there now is a copy, casts its shadow on the Ritz. The Republic drained its coffers in order to forget. But these cobbled streets and imperial facades will still recall the workers who died for the cause. Until the day we raise again the flag of the communards, died red and proud as the blood on the boulevards.
Yeah, the blood on the boulevards. Wonderful song for the Paris Commune. We need more songs for the Paris Commune in every other language. Pat is wondering what it says on your T-shirt.
Oh, it says, why would you ever vote for a rich person?
Yeah, exactly. Good question.
It was given to me at a rally in Las Cruces 2.5 years ago, something like that. A guy was just handing them out, and yeah, I thought it was a good question.
Did you know that the average Democrat in Congress is $4,000 richer than the average Republican?
Yeah, well,
it's not much, but you know.
But it's not great.
No. Thanks so much for joining us once again, Per.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting once again, and I guess I'll see you next week.
I hope so. Great. And then skipping across the Atlantic again to Manchester, we are going to join one of the great organizers as well as songwriters of Manchester, Tony Harper. And let's see, press the button again. Oh, there we go. I'm having some kind of a computer issue here. Hey, great to see you.
It's great. I'm really enjoying it. Loads of people you got playing tonight. It's great. Well, in the day.
That's really a good one today, huh? Yeah. That's an especially good one. Yeah. What's been happening in Manchester? Any statues come down?
No, but lots of discussion of statues, lots of debates of history. In fact, this is a song I'm going to do is about that.
Wonderful.
But I don't know. You remember when you were here? There's a couple of parks here. We're kind of in between two parks, so we're having regular events at the Black Lives events at the one park.
And great! And so it's just like a short walk.
Yeah,
from your place.
3-minute walk from my place.
Nice.
And there used to be a statue of Abraham Lincoln there, put there in after the First World War. And it was a commemoration for the links with the embargo on cotton in the American Civil War. And he wrote some because a lot of the workers in the Lancashire mills had supported the Union embargo on Confederate movements of cotton. A lot didn't. I've just been reading up a bit more about it. There was apparently Confederate flags being flown from the mill towns in Lancashire of people who because people were out of work, they lost their jobs, and there was a lot of poverty. But there was a core of organising that supported it. So it's so hence we had Lincoln. He's now in town, in the middle of town. There's a statue there, which I shan't be arguing for him to be pulled down, but there's loads of statues we should be ripping down. So
absolutely.
But the debate on the statues, and there's been a lot of discussion about whether it's a diversion from Black Lives Matter, and I don't think it is. I think it's about relearning history, as Graham was talking about before. Real history, because those are history of the side that dominate us. We've got the Pankhurst. We've got one of the Pankhursts in town. But there you go. It's not really about statues, really. It's,
right.
At the end of the day. Anyway, this is a song. I kind of keep changing. I've kind of called it "Icons of Pain," but I think it needs. It's about the statue Edward Colston that they took down in Bristol, which was the where it all burst out on the streets.
Great.
So inspired by that, really. So.
Excellent. Well, we heard a wonderful song about that from Rob Johnson last week.
And Dave Rogers.
Dave Rogers.
I watched it. I watched it last week. Yeah. And Rob as well. So it was good.
Yeah, great.
I'm a bit behind Dave on this one, but anyway, it's another song. In 1680 to 1692, a man called Edward Colston plied his trade. He ran his ships around the Death Triangle, 84,000 locked in chains, 19,000 of them men, women and children were dumped in the sea. So they put him on a plinth to glorify his wealth and to hide his murderous deeds. Take a spanner to the bolts, take a hammer to the bronze, and take a chisel to the stone to bring them down. Put a rope around his neck and drag him on the deck and roll him to the water where he belonged. They came in their thousands to say Black Lives Matter. They came to take the knee. They'd seen the racist murder of George Floyd. They were there in solidarity, staring down them from his lofty perch was a bronze hero of the bourgeoisie. That was our history, the rulers have proclaimed, but the people now they profoundly disagree. Take a hammer to their boats, take a hammer to the bronze, take a chisel to the stone that brings them down. Put a rope around his neck and drag him on the deck and roll him to the harbor where he belongs. We got Cecil Rhodes in Oxford, Churchill by the Square, and Robert Milligan by London Dockside. They're all across the land, all these dead rich white men, images of power far and wide. Well, now Cecil's coming down, and Churchill's in a box, and Milligan's been dumped in a museum. That just leaves us with the living ones. Time to put Boris and the Tories where we can't see them. So take a spanner to their boats, take a hammer to their bronze, and take a chisel to the stone to bring them down. Put a rope around their necks, figuratively speaking, and drag them on the deck and roll them back in history where they belong. Take a spanner to their boats, take a hammer to their bronze, and take a chisel to the stone that will bring them down. Put a rope around their necks and drag them on the deck, and roll them back in history where they belong. Yeah, roll them back to history where they belong.
Yeah, Tony Harper. Wonderful.
There you
Another
go.
great, very contemporary political commentary. Excellent.
So you're keeping
Thank
good.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just fine. Yeah, hope to see you again
Yep, definitely.
soon.
Thanks a lot, David.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. Take care.
Cheers. And then, wonderful. Then we didn't mean to be necessarily skipping back and forth between the Atlantic, over the Atlantic like methodically, but we're doing that. And here we go once again to the northeastern U.S. Pat Lamana, wonderful to have you back.
Thanks,
Glad you
David.
could make it.
Me too.
Thank you.
Me too. Yes. Boy, some great songs this morning. That song.
A lot of good ones, huh?
Yeah, that song by Tony.
Depending. Evening for
Fabulous.
him.
Yeah, right. But really great.
What's been happening in your neck of the woods?
Well, speaking of statues, there's an Italian center in Poughkeepsie, New York, which is about 20 minutes south of where I live, and they have a big statue of Christopher Columbus outside, and they are planning to move. The Italian center is, and they have the statue of Columbus all covered up because they're planning to move the statue along with their headquarters. But also possibly because they want to protect it from what could happen.
Possibly.
Another thing that's happening is a resident of Poughkeepsie by the name of Maurice Taylor, a young black man, was shot and killed by New Jersey state troopers. Actually, a couple of weeks, I believe, before George Floyd was killed. But now the family is demanding justice. Tonight there's a vigil in Poughkeepsie. So that's happening. And another
That
thing
was just
I wanted-
a recent event?
It was before George Floyd, but for some reason the word
Just
didn't
before.
really come out. Yeah, the word didn't come out until maybe a week or so ago.
But what
people
was
weren't
this,
aware
New
of it.
Jersey? It was
Yeah, it's
it
confusing.
happened in Poughkeepsie? Yeah.
No, he lived in Poughkeepsie. It happened in New Jersey. They think because he was an Uber driver, perhaps he was on a fare to New
Right.
Jersey. They think maybe that's why he was in Jersey, but apparently, nobody knows for sure, or at least the general populace that read the paper and so on don't know for sure. So we don't know a lot of the details. But again, unarmed young black man. He was getting his life together. He was, I want to say 27. He was just going to Dutchess Community College, taking chemistry. And so it's just another horrible tragedy.
Mm.
And another thing that's happening that I would like to tell people about is the People's Music Network of Songs for Freedom and Struggle, which David knows well, and we've had a lot of PMN people on just today.
Yeah, and you were in on the weekend conference, the online conference.
Well,
Were you
I was involved
participating?
with that. Yeah, actually tonight we're having a workshop called Grain of Salt. It may be filled, but it's a it invites people to come and bring songs, political songs in progress, and they sing it, and we invite feedback. So people
Nice.
just give them ideas how it can be improved, what works about it, and so on. But the thing I wanted to tell you about is PMN is going to be having a concert of songs to celebrate women's suffrage, which is going to be on Sunday, July 19th. And I'm going to be in it, and two of the people whom most of your audience has just heard, Colleen Katow and Bev Grant, as well as Lydia Adams Davis, Jen Dog Lone Wolf. And so we have a great lineup of people. We're going
And they
to
can
sing.
see that on the Facebook page on the People's Music Network?
Yes, it'll be shown on the Facebook page, or
Great.
possibly, I think, on the PMN website page
Uh-huh.
also. But more details, the details aren't quite up yet because it's about a month away, but they
Yeah.
will be up at peoplesmusic.org.
Excellent.
So people will be able to see that. So that's really exciting. So last weekend, as Colleen said, very busy weekend, and I didn't get a chance to go to the Great Labor Arts Exchange because there was also a virtual March on Washington by the Poor People's Campaign, led by Reverend William Barber II.
Which apparently had 1 million viewers.
Perhaps,
Amazing.
yeah, it's hard to say because, you know, you watch on different platforms, and like on the platform I was on, it was a few thousand, but I understand that there was also a few thousand on Facebook and a few thousand somewhere else. So yeah, quite possibly. So the thing about this Poor People's Campaign, you probably know, it's really a revival of the Poor People's Campaign that Martin Luther King Jr. started in 1968. And unfortunately, he was assassinated before they actually did March on Washington, but eventually they did.
Just
March on
before,
Washington.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to say in the summer or late spring of 1968, they
Yeah.
marched on Washington, and Reverend Barber got the idea to kind of revive it. But in 1968, a man by the name of Reverend Frederick Douglass Kirkpatrick, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he lived in New York City. I knew him. And he wrote this song called Everybody's Got a Right to Live. And if you go to YouTube and just type in the search, Everybody's Got a Right to Live, you'll see that it's been revived. The old version of him singing it with Jimmy Collier is there, but also a lot of really inspired new versions, including by Jen Dog Lone Wolf, who's going to be at this women's concert. But what I want to sing is the old version.
Great.
So, and it's got a real singable chorus. In fact, this is a terrible song to sing when you don't have an audience to sing along with you. But I do have an audience to sing along with me. I just won't be able to hear them. So I hope you will join on the chorus. It's real easy. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this campaign fails, and he's talking about the Poor People's Campaign, before this campaign fails, we'll all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this campaign fails, we'll all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live. On my way to Washington, feeling awful bad, thinking about an income that I never had. Black man picked the cotton a long time ago. He has been a victim since they brought him to this shore. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this campaign fails, we'll all go down to jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Excuse me. Black man dug the pipeline, hewed down the pines, gave his troubles to Jesus, kept on towing the line. Black man dug the ditches, night and day. Black man did the work while the white man got the pay. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this campaign fails, we'll all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Now look here, Congress, this is a brand new day. No more full-time work for part-time pay. I want my share of silver, I want my share of gold. I want my share of justice to save my dying soul. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this campaign fails, we'll all go down in jail. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. Everybody's got a right to live. And before this campaign fails, we'll all go down to jail. Everybody's got a right to live.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much, Pat.
Thank you, David.
Hope to see you again soon.
I hope so. Take care.
You too.
Thank
you. And moving to the north and east, we are joined by Peter Patton. No, Patton. Sorry. Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Good, thanks.
Hey, hey. What you got today for us? There, what's been happening there in the countryside?
In the countryside, actually, a few days ago on Friday afternoon, I was very proud to be part of a demonstration rally in Rockland, Maine, for Black Lives Matter and in honor of George Floyd.
Great.
Maybe 300 of us. I don't know.
And Rockland is a town of what, a few thousand people or more?
A few, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a big turnout. Yeah.
It is, yes.
That's great.
And at one point we filled up Main Street pretty well. We were down flat on the ground on the pavement on Main Street for 8 minutes and 46 seconds to honor George Floyd. And on our knees. It's just it's a very moving event.
Yeah.
I'm very proud to have been there.
Yeah.
Today, I want to talk about, maybe rant a little bit about pixels.
Pixels, excellent.
Pixels. It's a term we think of often in regards to technology behind the how the computer screen is made up and put together. Thousands of little pixels. But it can also be used in regarding people and how we live our lives. And one kind of pixel, which is kind of extreme, is our gated communities. And gated communities tend to have gates on them that lock, and those locks are either on the inside or on the outside, depending on whether they're supposed to keep people in a community or to keep others out of a community. By any community, I mean jails and those cages down on the Mexican border, which have been used to incarcerate people who are trying to immigrate, especially young children. And seeing as how those cages are administered by the ICE agency, when I do my speaking, I like to refer to those cages as ice cubes. And even with our longhand writing, which has kind of gone out of style for printing with a pen. I don't do that. I do my writing longhand. But with the printing, each and every letter is a pixel all by itself. I think that one song that in the recent past that I thought was really moving and regarding to pixels is John Prine's song, Donald and Lydia, Making Love from 10 Miles Away. I'll get back to that in a moment. I think that with the social distancing we have now, we need to be careful we don't get too used to this or let our feelings become so alienated and scarce that these feelings don't come back afterwards, and maybe we're going to be stuck with some social distancing in the future, and we might have a problem with post-traumatic stress disorder. Of course, we always do. And post-traumatic stress disorder in response to the quarantining might be called post-traumatic social distancing, which has the same initials, PTSD, as the post-traumatic social disorder. So they got to be careful there. It's easy to get too confused. One thing I think is particularly poignant and painful about John Prine's song about Donald and Lydia is that John Prine lost his own life to the coronavirus back in April. That's it for me. Short and brief, but to the point, I hope.
Thank you so much for your comments, Peter. Yes, thank you so much. See you again soon, I hope.
Yes, hope so.
And we have that rural connection issue there again, but that's how it is. And now I'm very happy to welcome for the first time on this open mic, Sue Jeffers, who last time I saw you, you were in Wisconsin, but I don't know if you're still in Wisconsin. That was like 20 years ago. How are you doing?
Actually, I'm in Kent, Ohio.
Ohio. Ohio.
Yeah.
I guess I got the right region anyway, but it was not
Right.
off by about 1,000 miles or so. But
Yeah, I think it may have been the last time I actually was in the same space with you was one of the economic, one of the big
one of those social forums or something.
Yeah,
Right. It was happening in maybe Wisconsin. Was that it? Was
it
that
was
right?
in DC. It was one of the anti-globalization
Yep.
things.
Yep.
Yeah.
They blend together after 20 years or
That's
so.
right.
Yeah.
The only thing I can really remember about that is you saved me from getting tear gassed because you said, "Hey, could I use your guitar?" So I was hanging around. So I didn't.
Excellent. That's great. I have
I
a friend
didn't
who
get out.
smoked the joint and didn't get killed in an earthquake because of it. Yeah. That's great. What you got for us?
Well, I either have a song written back in 1910 by an anonymous worker that I found in the Big Red Songbook from the IWW, or I have my new song that is the single is dropping on the 26th. Which one would you rather hear?
Oh, something dropping on the 26th sounds very exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do that one, and then maybe I'll come back in another
Come back
week,
next week. Yeah. Good, good.
do the 1910 song.
Good.
Amazing. It really, especially after I started researching what it mentions in this song for the wage slave song. Something about a high court decision that went wrong, and I went back and found that it was something related to labor
I want
rights.
to hear that too. Yeah.
And so it really does kind of fit
Speaks to the moment.
now much more than I thought it did whenever I first picked it out.
Oh, I want to hear that
It's
too.
the one that really fits in this time because I just wrote it a couple weeks ago.
And it drops on streaming platforms on the 26th?
Yeah.
Cool.
If there's DJs out there, you should be getting one at
Oh, a physical
one of
CD.
these. And I only made a short run for the people who did not, the DJs that didn't want to mess with downloads.
All right.
So there aren't. It's going to go on my next CD too. So that'll be in physical form. But and I think you have a song with the same title. I didn't realize until after I already had the graphics done that David Rovix also has an essentially expendable song, but this is not that one. This is a different song. The owning class is clamoring to hustle workers money bring. Let them work on straps and strings and heat those boots, now things are lean. Some workers they manipulate take the blame and agitate to put their families' lives at stake so masters' profits they can make. Say they know many more will die, even dare to call you the front line. Say thank you for your sacrifice, now go make those pies. You're essentially expendable at 7:25. Sorry, I'm gonna mute my speakers just in case it was echoing. The plutocrats in Congress say the urgency has gone away. The holding classes had their day. 3 trillion plus is on the way. And help the worker to survive, but not enough to really thrive. A comfort takes away the drive to die for 7.25. They say they know that many more will die, even dare to call you the front lines. I say thank you for your sacrifice, now go make those pies. You're essentially expendable at 7.25. The president called this a hoax. His followers he tries to coax to mingle while they praise his boasts. To the market they'll be thrown. Distance now, the White House rule is too extravagant for you. Get back to work, you lazy tool. When you break, they'll get one new. And they say they know many more will die, even dare to call you the front lines. Now they're ramping up their class war, and you know they must be right. It's time, fellow workers, for a general strike. His wealth he thought would insulate, thought his power was too great. The virus would not dare invade his callous White House palisade. But now he's tested every day, maybe 4 times, even 8. But you can all just play roulette. He wants that burger on his plate. And they say they know many more will die. They even dare to call you the front line. And while they're ramping up their class war, well, you know they aren't right. It's time, fellow workers, for the general strike. Scheming even now on how to siphon out our bank accounts. Congress plans to help them out. Their priorities are not in doubt. But workers have their own demands, states and towns across the land. Walking out to take a stand, this need not go as bastards plan. Because they say they know many more will die, even dare to call you the front line. And now they're ramping up their class war, and you know right. Well, it's time, fellow workers, for a general strike. It's time, fellow workers, for the general strike.
Yes, indeed it is, fellow worker. Yes, yes, yes. Excellent. Excellent plan. Excellent plan. Sue Jeffers in Kent, Ohio, thanks so much for joining us. And
Thank
hope you can come back next week and sing that other song you mentioned.
Yeah,
I want to hear that.
I have a project I'm working on with from the Big Red Songbook, so I'll have plenty of songs to come back.
Excellent. Wonderful. We need them.
Thanks.
Thank you. See you soon.
Yep.
Good, good. And then on a self-proclaimed crappy internet connection, we're moving right over to Jane Z. Hey, great to have you here. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. What part of the world are you in? Are you in New York there?
Oh,
Oh, it is indeed a crappy internet connection.
I'm in Syracuse, New York.
Syracuse. Good. Good. I'll just leave it to you because we have like a 10-second delay, and I'll just hand it over to you and see what you got. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Draws a pattern on the ground, it tosses in a stone and starts counting it down. And there's soft, dusty colors at the end of the day, and a line in the distance fading away. She starts spinning around, wind picks up the chalk line on the ground, and it's like a dance as she slips into a trance, and she starts singing a child's song, so full of love, nothing wrong. And if you could understand the ancient tongue, you know she's singing, one is one and one is one and all is one. She spins so hard, doesn't know where she ends or where she starts. She stumbles and falls, lifts her head and sees the cause. The pattern's changed, the wind sounds like laughter and calls her name. A blanket of stars draws down. She picks up the stone and looks around. She starts singing a child's song, so full of love and nothing wrong. And if you could understand the ancient tale, you know she's singing, all is well. Love and nothing wrong. Love and nothing wrong. Love and nothing wrong. Love and nothing wrong. We lose ourselves, we find ourselves, we love ourselves again.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
See you. Wonderful. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
and hopefully Syracuse can get better internet connections, but this is an issue we have in this country. And moving on to the West Coast and to the north of the currently closed border, Vancouver. Mike Marker, wonderful to have you back. And your audio is muted. If you could,
Now it's
there you
not.
are. Now
Yeah.
it's not. Great. Hey, Mike,
Great,
how's it going
great,
there? What's been
great to
happening?
be here with you, David. Again, I got on a little late, and I tried to earlier around 10, I guess, and so many people. I mean, this is a great success, and
It is. I
I want to congratulate you on this is brilliant stuff, man.
Some
So,
high quality commentary on the week's activities, huh?
absolutely, and so I want to take us back in time because here in Vancouver, we're so connected. There's so many things about Canada that are the one of the only places you can actually critique the United States because you're outside of it, and so you have a bit of a distance, you have a bit of an objectivity, you have a bit of a space to look at things, and then quite frankly, everyone here that I talk with in Vancouver and throughout British Columbia as well, they're quite frightened about opening up that border again. I predict that I'm going to be in Canada for a good long while. I don't think anyone wants that border opened up. They're saying not only are those people infected with virus, they're infected with racism. They're infected with a crazy, they have a psychopathic leader. Can we just chill out for, maybe a year or two and not have to deal with these people?
Might not be a bad idea.
But there's borders and there's borders, and let's go to the other border, the south one, because there was a time many years ago. I don't want us to forget these events. There was a time many years ago when there were really nefarious characters that somebody might make a statue to them. I can't even imagine a statue to Oliver North. You know what I'm saying? So I made up a song. It got on NPR a bit, and it was kind of and so I want to do this song and remind people, as the pandemic affects Latin America probably more intensely than anywhere in the world. It's people are dying. The rates of infection are terrible, and so it's a great opportunity for American meddling in the world and in the daily life and politics of Latin America, as they did not so very long ago. It's called Pretty Bananas. Ollie and Bobby were getting bored, just playing poker with Rich Secord. Got to make whoopee and sow some oats. Got to mine harbors and sink some boats. We back the Contras, our hometown team. They play real dirty and they play mean. We holler score as they kill some more, but someone up in the bleachers screams. Pretty bananas are all they see. Pretty bananas, if you ask me. All for United Fruit Company, paving the way for democracy. We like to have mangoes and coffee beans, lots of cheap labor to run machines, keeping life good in the USA. But there's some pinko who'll probably say, pretty bananas are all they see. Pretty bananas, if you ask me. All for United Fruit Company, paving the way for democracy. Now Ollie is a hero 'cause he hates those Reds, and we know Sandinistas are commie-led. It's awful for business if they should win. They won't let Kentucky Fried Chicken in. this story took place in the Reagan times. If amnesia should seize you, it's out of mind. I forgot what I said. Did I sing this song? I forgot what I said. Is there something wrong? Pretty bananas are all they see. Pretty bananas if you ask me. All for United Fruit Company. Paving the way for democracy.
Brilliant. And then these corporations, once we find out just how evil they are, they just go change their name, right? They became Chiquita. Everybody identified United Fruit Company with the evil and empire, and then they changed. Oh, well, now we're Chiquita. Yeah.
Well said. Well
yeah,
said.
yeah.
Well,
Wonderful, Mike. Thank you.
That's my little contribution. I have kind of a sore finger. I kind of cut my finger on some blackberries the other day, yesterday. And so I just thought, here's the interesting thing, the blackberries that we have here in the Pacific Northwest, and this in Portland too. These are not native species. These are invading.
They're invasive, vicious blackberries. They take over, but they taste good.
And they are the most colonial plants, perhaps, in the Pacific Northwest. Anyway, so I wanted to try and play something easy, and I thought, well, maybe I won't even be able to play. Maybe I just have to, do a poem or something like that. One of my poems, and
it worked.
Yeah. Anyway, this little I got this little nylon string guitar, and
right, easier on your fingers.
Yeah, and then I've got it in an open tuning, so
also easier.
Yeah, right. So trying
less fingers. Yeah.
Keeping it real. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Mike,
Martha,
thanks so much for joining us again. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'll see you next week.
Excellent. Wonderful. Wonderful. And then moving on to a new guest, I believe. Morgan, you there? It's a lovely blank screen we got now, but Morgan, we will come back to Morgan and move instead to New Jersey. Chris Chandler, hello.
Hey,
Wonderful to have you back. Yeah, good. How are you holding up? What's been happening?
Okay. I mean, I am both encouraged and discouraged simultaneously, and it seems like it's been that way my whole life. And every time I look at anything outside my life and before it, there's reasons for optimism and reasons for discouragement simultaneously. I'm optimistic that people are taking to the streets, and but I'm pessimistic that I've been having to write the same piece for 40 years. So.
Yeah. Well put. Have you written another piece that was the same as one you wrote 40 years ago, updated to the current?
I think that this piece I've been being written and rewritten for 40 years because I'm just going to launch into it. Because what the United States needs more than anything is forgiveness. And in order to receive forgiveness, we have to deserve it. And I'm just saying this because this topic has probably been on my plate for longer than any other one, starting before high school. My first political acts in high school was to get the state of Georgia to remove the Confederate flag from the state flag. But first of all, this is not the Confederate flag. This is. And it hasn't always been the state flag. Before it had the Confederate flag on it, it looked like this. But upon the outcome of Brown versus Board of Education, the state of Georgia changed it to this, as if to say change would never come to America. And this is before many Georgia schools segregated, well into the 70s. The University of Georgia was the last university to desegregate its football team, and that was in 1971. They chanted 2468, we want to integrate. Thank you, Jimmy Carter. But this remained the state flag until 2001. And after much maneuvering, it was changed to something that looks an awful lot like this. Not that much change. But still, the state of Mississippi, the state with the largest black population, has this as its state flag. Reprehensible. Now, the reason that I am bringing this up is because I grew up in the town that Martin Luther King singled out as the single most racist in America. And he did so in his I Had a Dream speech. And the reason that Martin Luther King singled out my hometown was because at the time, my hometown of Stone Mountain, Georgia, was the home of a very powerful Ku Klux Klan that was wreaking chaos and terror throughout the Southland where I was born. And because of the Klan, it is also the home of the world's largest monument, the Confederate Monument, where the stone images of 3 Confederate leaders are indelibly chiseled on the side of a mammoth slab of granite that inexplicably protrudes from the Georgia red clay, larger than Mount Rushmore itself. This picture is deceptive. You could actually park a school bus in the ear of Robert E. Lee. And it was on this site that the modern Ku Klux Klan was formed in a ceremony that involved burning a cross from the mountain's summit. The inferno was so large it could be seen from the city of Atlanta some 20 miles away. The inferno it represented was much larger. The rebel revelers longed for no change to come to Georgia. But I say today, change is afoot. Let's give it a hand. But it was in that setting that I came into this world, and I saw my hometown of 3,000 grow to 10,000 on rally days. I grew up watching 10,000 hooded heroes march through the town as young girls my age threw flowers at their feet. And I grew up looking at this out the window of my high school. So yes, I am very close to this subject, which is why I want to talk about Confederate monuments for a moment. And I want to say loudly, take them down and rename the 10 Army bases named for Confederate leaders. Do not speak their names with reverence. They did more to hurt African Americans and to a far lesser degree, but still hurt poor white people than anyone else on earth. Beauregard, Hood, Lee, Bragg, Polk, Hill, Rucker, Pickett, Gordon, and Benning. Change them. Oh, but it's tradition, you say. Ha, Fort Benning? Fort Benning is the home of the School of the Americas, an institution to train paramilitary to help police U.S. American corporate interests in South and Central America, home of Noriega. But when they were called out by the most consistent U.S. American protests, gathering tens of thousands annually to protest the school's existence, they were defunded. Yes, we can defund institutions. But as soon as they were defunded, they simply changed their name to the Western Hemisphere Institute for Security and Cooperation. But the point is, if the School of the Americas can change its name, so can Fort Benning itself. But Chandler, these Confederate generals, they were, like their cause or not, they were brilliant military leaders. Okay, that's an arguable point. Let's have it. But let me ask you, do we have a Fort Thomas Gage? Do we have a Fort William Howe or a Fort Charles Cornwallis named for military leaders on the wrong side of the American Revolution? For that matter, do we have a Fort Rommel? No one could argue that Rommel was not a brilliant military leader, but we do have a Fort Patton. Hell, we don't even have a Fort Gregory Zukov, the general that actually did beat the Nazis. And he did so with far less than Robert E. Lee had. Zukov was Antifa before Antifa was cool. And U.S. Americans are so pro-fa that we don't even know his name. But before we move on to the next topic about monuments, I want to continue with the brilliant military leaders argument, one that I used in high school, which I believe me, trust me, this was not a popular point of view when I was in high school. As we covered earlier, this is not the Confederate flag. This is the flag of the Army of Northern Virginia. And as a Georgian, I argued that Robert E. Lee did nothing for the state of Georgia. And I will say it again. Robert E. Lee never did anything for the state of Georgia. He took boys from Georgia and kept them in Virginia. Georgians should resent him because as a military leader, he failed. He failed to do the one thing he needed to do, control the Mississippi River. He failed. And yes, I'm saying it here. Robert E. Lee was not only a slave-owning traitor, but he was a terrible general. And I'm going to say that again. He was not only a slave-owning traitor, Robert E. Lee was a terrible general. And if anybody should know that, it should be the state of Mississippi. Where was Lee? At Vicksburg. Robert E. Lee was in Pennsylvania. Vicksburg lost the Confederacy, not Gettysburg. In Mississippi, you put the battle flag of the Army of Northern Virginia on your flag. Are you not only racist, but you're also ignorant? I'm sorry, I made this argument to gun-toting revelers, still giving a hand job to the corpse of Robert E. Lee via the reruns of the Dukes of Hazzard. But I digress. Yes, take down Civil War monuments. I know for liberals, this is a very easy pill to swallow. So let's make it a little harder. Let me make a couple of points here. One that's hard for non-Southern liberals to make. As someone who is very close to this subject and has actually fought on the front lines of this, there is a very big difference between the statues honoring individuals such as Robert E. Lee and Nathan Bedford Forrest and the likeness of the generic Confederate soldier in the town square of almost every Southern town. If you have ever been to the South, you have most definitely seen one. And there's an opposite guy in almost every northern town, including Asbury Park, where I am. The southern one faces north and vice versa, and all that shit erected in the 1920s. But I want to tell you, I have sympathy with the generic Confederate soldier. I see it as something different. Most Southern soldiers were conscripts, not landowners, and certainly not slave owners. They were poor people, forced to fight by the way of the first American conscription ever. The rich owned slaves. In the South, you are exempt from conscription if you owned a slave. Always keep that fact in mind when you talk about the Civil War. For the most part, I see that guy in the town square of every small Southern town as a victim, a conscript, forced to fight in a cause he had no vested interest in. He was a sharecropper, an American serf, forced to compete with the horrors of slavery to make a living. And finally, if you argue that any monument that honors a military leader that fought against the United States should be taken down, I will remind you just for conversation. Because if you don't know me, I am pretty well documented over the past 40 years in favor of removing Confederate monuments. So again, just for conversation, there is a revered statue of Tecumseh, not Sherman. He was named for Tecumseh. There is a revered statue of Tecumseh at the U.S. Naval Academy. If you don't know, he was the chief of the Shawnee and united the Northwestern tribes. In those days, Northwest meant Ohio. United them with the side of the British in the War of 1812. You know, Tippecanoe and Tyler too. Tecumseh was a brilliant military leader and ultimately lost in a war against the USA. He is honored at one of the most important U.S. military sites. The irony is that statue isn't even Tecumseh, but that's beside the point. Everyone thinks it is, and it's now called Tecumseh. Let me ask you, should the statue of Tecumseh also be removed? And what about the largest monument in the world? No, not Mount Rushmore, but near it. What about the Crazy Horse Monument? He is certainly a brilliant military leader, and Crazy Horse did a hell of a lot more than Robert E. Lee did, with far less. He certainly fought against the U.S. military, and hell, his monument sits, ironically, in Custer County. I would say that they were not fighting Americans. They were fighting a hostile government for Americans, Native Americans. And with that in mind, if you want to take down statues who fought against Americans, shouldn't you start in the backyard of the White House? The one sitting at the end of Black Lives Matter Boulevard, in the middle of Black Lives Matter Plaza. Should not the statue of Andrew Jackson come down from behind the White House and be replaced with a monument to the slaves who built the White House in the first place? Because what the United States needs now, more than anything, is forgiveness. And in order for us to receive forgiveness, we have to deserve it. And that might be a good place to start. Thank you.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. Did I just interrupt the last word? That was fantastic, and Andrew Jackson, that one definitely needs to come down. Oh my God, yes.
Yes, on the backyard of the White House. I mean, come on.
That's going to be tough to get at. The Secret Service is all over the place. Well, it's a good one. Good goal.
And it's also ironically a copy of the statue in Jackson Square in New Orleans. It's not even an original.
Oh,
For what that's
fantastic.
worth.
And you're getting a lot of praise on multiple platforms. I know you can't see them all, but I can. And so you can find Chris Chandler. Look, let's see, chrischandler.org. You'll find him out there. You're broadcasting regularly too. Still, are you broadcasting?
I do a weekly broadcast just before yours. I do it at noon Eastern time here in New Jersey. I'm only doing it once a week. I do one. It's the poem of the week, and I'm writing a
On
new piece
Mondays?
every week. On Mondays.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Thanks
Thanks
for
so
having me.
much,
Thanks
Chris.
for doing what you do. I've really enjoyed hearing so many old friends and new people that I'm hearing here. So thanks for doing what you're doing. Dave.
Good. Me too. Thank you. See you again.
All right.
Chris Chandler of Stone Mountain, Georgia, from New Jersey. And now, Morgan, it's working. Wonderful.
All right.
Wonderful to see
Can you hear me?
Hey. Oh yeah, I can hear it. Yeah, and you actually sound good too. Which I'm surprised by because the signal kept on going away. But yeah, that sounds great. What part of the world are you in?
So I'm in New Orleans. I'm where the original Andrew Jackson statue is.
Wonderful. Where Chris
And we keep
Oakley
on-
used to
we
live.
keep-
Yeah.
We keep on trying to get in there and tear it down, but they keep on locking the damn square.
Really? They're locking
But-
up Jackson Square?
Yeah, so whenever we have a lot of our protests there, but we just have to kind of wrap around it on the sidewalk around it.
So they
Yeah.
have police guarding the statue, or how are they
It's just-
locking down the
it's-
square?
It's just locked up. So there's fencing that's
Oh, is
always
there?
been there. Yeah,
Okay.
so they just lock up the gates. I mean, I don't know. Maybe one day people are just going to jump over the fence and just take it down anyway. But
There's that option.
yeah,
An
they
extra
haven't been. New Orleans, at least, where it gets nasty is when people in New Orleans try to cross the bridge over to the white suburbs. That's when the cops get really nasty. But
Yeah, like
but
in
usually,
2005. The
Oh,
police
yeah.
set up a barricade, treating everybody like criminals instead of like
Yep.
people.
They
in
just
need of
started
help.
shooting.
Yeah.
But yeah, if
Were
we
you
keep
around
things
New
in a-
Orleans back then? Have you been there a long time?
No, I've only been here for 6 years, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think I shared with you on an email. I last saw you when you played a show at my house in DC in 2001.
Oh,
which is kind of
wonderful.
crazy. Yeah.
Wonderful. Was that a house concert with Ali Rosenblatt singing with me? Was that a really crowded? Was it during a protest or something? 2001. There was a lot of protests going on.
Yeah, and it could have been 2000. It was
Yeah.
a Lutheran volunteer corps house, and
Oh.
we had we had a guy from Nicaragua. He's a British guy who was living in Nicaragua, who's a singer songwriter as well, a guy named Paul Baker.
Oh yeah. I've been in touch
And-
with Paul online. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he and you were playing at the house, and I have a photo of it still. I don't remember
wonderful.
any details from it, but I remember I came across the photo, and yeah, so
Oh, great.
good deal. Well, I've got a poem
Oh, wonderful.
called
Let's
"The
hear it.
Star Spangled Virus." Okay, America, when will you stop punching yourself in the face? Are we really going to do Fight Club now? Is the only way to atone for our sins to scapegoat and sabotage and pose as our enemies in order to discredit them? Why is this a surprise? We build a nation around two idols, a red, white, and blue war banner, and Caesar's coin that declares "In God we trust." Which God? The generic one who has no tradition other than Enlightenment reason, who secretly looks more like Zeus than Jesus? We pillaged and mongrelized and pretended like we had the one pure faith when Ra and Osiris and Marduk and Mars all remain in our pantheon. How can anyone claim that any church in this country worships a teenage lamb who was slaughtered by white cops when we raise our war banner in every sanctuary? The word that's supposed to mean a place of peace. We want the God of war that we sing to at every ball game. We don't want to worship a bleeding, suffocating man on a cross, except when he serves as the whiteout that lets us keep bombing nations into democracy and getting our hand stamped for the Disneyland in the sky. Do we trust anything other than money and bombs? How can we love our neighbors when we can't even clean our houses while we curate fake lives onto screens? We would rather create avatars in virtual reality than share vegetables with our neighbors, and now we have an excuse to be more alone because science is always right. Even though the indigenous know the whole earth is sick because we have raped the land, we still think science is the only answer. So we rip ourselves into hysteria with our charts and graphs that explain everything with confidence, like every child of Lucifer drunk on the fruit of knowledge that's become an entire empire of correctness that slashed and burned rainforests in order to create little white pills that will solve everything. How can we survive a pandemic when we've forgotten how to breathe and how to dance and how to build fires and how to talk to spirits and how to hit drums and how to ask our ancestors for guidance? Until we rip out the weed rugs of our social stability and build prayer labyrinths with flowers that attract the right kinds of insects, until we stop buying food and plastic, we will continue to live out the neurosis that is suffocating our entire planet. But Pachamama will work out the knots in her body one way or another. If we're not aligned with her beauty, then we will be cast into the fire and made into compost for the new earth she is creating right now. Many will die because of the arrogance of centuries of conquistadors who blaspheme Jesus' cross perfectly, wielding it as a sword, saying, "Convert or die." Until the ancient languages are restored, until new traditions are discovered, we will keep asphyxiating ourselves into the rage, fear, and isolation that is our virus. And yet Pachamama says, "Behold, I am doing a new thing." We'll call it the year of the grandmother. If all the white men firing tear gas into grieving crowds would put down their badges and sit at the feet of the elders whose land we stole, then we would receive the wisdom we need, and perhaps the virus would evaporate, like the assumption that people who are alienated from their ancestors can live by reason alone, which is the fruit the serpent handed us to eat. And that's it.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Morgan, for joining us there in New Orleans.
Yep.
That you could come. Hope to.
Good stuff. Yeah, I'll try to stop by on a regular basis now that I know this exists.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Tell other folks. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
And this has been the 9th weekly Pandemic Open Mic Monday, hosted on various platforms. You can find it archived in the video section on the Facebook pages of Popular Resistance and KBOO Community Radio, and on my David Rovick's Facebook pages, and most conveniently in terms of navigation and stuff, probably on YouTube at youtube.com/drovics. If you click on Discussions with David, it includes all of my weekday morning, or depending on what part of the world you're in, but anyway, weekday programming, which is every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, 7 p.m. Central European Time. At least these days, that's the time difference, and it's every weekday. On Monday, it's Pandemic Open Mic Mondays that I host, and then on Tuesdays, it's Fifth Estate Live, produced by Peter Werby. And tomorrow, for tomorrow's Fifth Estate Live, I'll be interviewing Kathy Ferguson and talking about Emma Goldman. She wrote a book about Emma Goldman. And then I'll be interviewing more interesting people for my discussions with David, programming Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And it all is also up in MP3 form on Patreon and on SoundCloud. And if you look on any podcasting platform for This Week with David Rovics, and if you want to use any of these interviews or open mics and broadcast them anywhere, share them, etc., you're welcome. It's all Creative Commons and available and open to be used for any such purpose. Thanks for tuning in, whoever you are out there in the world, and hope to see you in cyberspace and in the streets. Remember, don't pay the rent, And please, if you're anywhere near Portland, please check out artistsforrentcontrol.org and sign up for text notifications and join the Portland Emergency Eviction Response. And mutual aid will get us through. Don't be afraid of your neighbors. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.